Well, Adam,
Yeah.
welcome to the line. I really appreciate you stepping up to the line here to have this real and honest conversation with us.
Thanks for the opportunity. We really appreciate it. We met earlier there about halfway through last week. I got to do a presentation on AI, and we kind of connected there, and we're able to put this together at a really cool spot here today.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things, our institute has been in communications with the Manufacturing Association here, and we just love what you're doing. We think it ties into some of the things that we're doing, and we were talking a little bit earlier about how it's not us versus them. It's all of us working together to be effective to make a change.
Yeah. So we're here at the Manufacturers Association. This is a regional trade organization covering South Central Pennsylvania with over 400 members of those kind of companies. Right. This was born out of exactly that. In World War II, I mean, this was a group of companies that got together to help mechanize this country for World War II.
Mechanize this country
like
for
that.
World War II.
There's people that say York saved the world, right? I mean, this is where that came out of. Shipley took that plan across the country. We're right in sort of that next phase of it, to be honest with you. And how are we now addressing the training needs and the manufacturing needs for this country? So we're able to kind of pull the resources of those companies, make sure we're all delivering their message and helping them out together. And so how do we help small manufacturers all join together to do that? And that hits your point exactly, where it's a group of us working together to do this.
Yeah. It is so exciting to me to be a part of telling these stories and having these conversations. I kind of can't believe that I get paid to do it. And because it's like, and the history and the stories of those who came before us, like I'm a big believer in legacy.
Yeah.
And you talk about that here with York. And one of the things that I love about manufacturing, I worked with a client, and they have these machines when I was an electrician, and they have these machines, they call them Davenports.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're in manufacturing, you probably know what they are. They don't, most of the machines that they have are older or as old as my dead grandfather. And there is no way to learn how to work them. Like I really wish that I had some video. I gotta talk with some of the people that I know of these machines, because the deal is when you think technology, you always think electronics.
Yep.
And with these machines, they are all about technology and zero electronics.
So the original company that was in this building was AMAC, and I believe they're moving back here. But what's really interesting for them is it's a screw machine company, and they were running in here Acme screw machines. I mean, these were machines that were running in World War II. Mm-hmm. They're still running those same things, and it's not because it's not because new machines are better. When you want to make $1 million of something. Yeah. An Acme screw machine is great at that, right? And so, it was a great solution at the time. What we see a lot now, though, people switching to CNC and maybe more recent equipment, is because those runs are lower, and so it makes sense to have, a machine that can do more than one thing, right?
Yeah.
Look, a changeover time on an Acme is going to be 10 hours, 24 hours, crazy. So you can't do that day to day.
Yeah.
But when I need to make high quantities, I mean, they're perfect. And so these guys still run them, but they're going to keep 3 or 4 extra ones around. So when they need parts, they can pull them off the old ones to put on, some of the newer ones. And it's pretty great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got, my team at Ledge, I mean, we work with somewhere around 300 companies across the country.
Well, and those who are listening, your full name, Adam
Marsh.
Marsh.
Yep.
With Ledge. You are the CEO?
Yeah, I'm the president.
You're the president of Ledge.
So we provide manufacturing consulting for companies across the country. Our primary focus is quality management systems. So you see companies, that say they're ISO 9001 or AS 9100 certified. Our goal is to help them build a system to meet those requirements.
So just stop a second there and talk about that. I love this about manufacturers. I've worked with them for years, and being in my industry, I get to work with all sorts of people, and manufacturers are kind of like military people. They love their acronyms and their statements, and I always just nod. I'm like, so
Yeah.
So tell us what those things are for our listeners.
Great question.
So that they might know and have a better understanding.
So ISO 9001 is sort of the base that we would start with, and it's a quality management set of requirements. So international organizations get together and they say, here's what you shall do. Okay. And it kind of walks through, and it's primarily focused at manufacturing. They try to get into some service, but it kind of works in every phase. And it's all about, how do we set up purchasing, right? Here's what you need to do. You need to have a way to approve vendors, right?
Yeah.
How do you set up production? How do we make sure we have traceability, right? And so you need to build the robust systems into that to meet your customers' requirements. Not only your customers' requirements, the requirements of your neighbors, right? Of the environmental requirements of the area, right? Understanding who all the stakeholders are and meeting them. And so our team is really good at building simple systems to meet those requirements. The trick for small manufacturers is to not overbuild. If you're not building medical device products, why the heck are you going to put in a medical device level quality system? Right?
Come on.
And so instead, we're going to build a system that meets what they need. We generally start really like, hey, how do you meet these requirements, right? And then let them grow into what they need, right? So I'm not going to build something that says, hey, we're going to make this really complicated to start out. We're going to start really simple. Then when you have problems, the great part about ISO, people think, hey, it's an ISO company or it's an aerospace certified company. That means they're great. No, they just have the systems and processes to reply to a problem when it happens, right? And then the sort of features to fix it, right? To say, yeah, we got a procedure, we can fix that, right? We can change it and get better. And so that's where we're helping them set up those guidelines and build the structure in the business so they can continue to improve. The real reason people get asked to do those is it's generally customer driven. So you want to do defense work, probably need aerospace certification. That's the AS 9100. You want to work for any major OEM, most of them are going to require at a minimum ISO 9001. So it's sort of your ticket in, your gateway into these new customers. And so a lot of it gets driven by potential sales. Sometimes companies say, you know what, we just want to put it in to get better. And those are really fun because those are guys that are really committed to how do we just use it as an improvement tool. And that's sort of what it's designed around. And so I'm an industrial engineer and kind of got trained by my dad, who's a physicist and has been doing this kind of consulting work since the late 80s.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because you talked about how we're in York, Pennsylvania. And a lot of our listeners, are in the construction industry and even the dirt world, we'll call it.
Gotcha.
And so your dad worked at a place, and I think a lot of people don't realize this was kind of, when I was a kid, in the 80s and in the 90s, it was a big deal here in New York. And matter of fact, the bones of it still are quite broad. But Caterpillar used to be here. And that's where your dad was working?
Yeah, so my dad actually came out and was working originally in the submarine world. So he was helping to make components for submarines, and that's where he really cut his teeth in the quality.
Wow.
And then ended up working at CAT, and this was sort of as CAT was going through some pretty tough negotiations, and so he had an opportunity to go out and start his own thing. And teach a little bit, and which was, when I look back at, I have 3 older sisters. There were 4 of us at home, and he took a jump, and started working for himself, and recognized
it's a scary jump.
It really is, right? And so he
Kudos
was able,
to him.
So he was able to do that and help put 4 of us through college. I mean, it's amazing when we look back at that. But he never got the opportunity because he was so busy, right? To kind of grow it past there. And so I ended up at, I came out of college, I went to Penn State for industrial engineering, really, like learning from him. So I spent a lot of time in high school going to clients with him, helping him with projects, doing a lot of computer work for him because I'm just sort of that naturally curious computer guy. And went and saw industrial engineering as a pathway, especially for this area. And I knew I wanted to come back and live here. My wife and I were together, and we really wanted to stay in this area. But South Central PA is like an industrial, boom town.
It is.
It's crazy. And so, and you name it.
You were telling me the town that you live in is the one with the paper mill. We are an industrial area for sure.
We're an industrial area. The background of the people that are here, right, which is Pennsylvania Dutch folks, are hard workers. They produce. And so you want to make something, York is where to make it, right? And so and South Central PA, it's amazing. We work with companies from all over. I mean, I'm doing, electrical work, we're doing food work, everything from candy to high-tech medical devices to, crazy optics for NASA and things like that. So you name it, it gets made here.
Wow.
And so tons of opportunity. And so I saw that coming in college, and initially I kind of had this discussion with Dad and said, I'm not quite ready to work for you yet. I need to go figure out what I can do on my own.
I respect that.
And he didn't quite have enough work for me at that time either. And so it was okay. And I got a job at a local firm called St. Onge Company. Great company, probably one of the premier supply chain companies in the country. And I was doing supply chain consulting. So I was all over the country helping companies figure out where to put a distribution center, a new plant, how big to make it. And I was doing serious data analytics. So I got hired as an engineer/data analyst, which means they drop 20 million records on me and say, figure out where we should put a plant, right?
Yeah.
And I got thrown into things that I didn't learn in college, right?
Come on.
So here's a P&L, tell me, analyze this and then help connect it to our business and make sure we're going to make money on this, right? I didn't learn that in engineering school. We never got the financial background that we should have gotten. And so because of that, I really had to put the time in.
Yeah.
And my wife looks back and she says, those first years you were working, 60, 80 hours a week, right? You were up all night. And I'm a guy, if I get an idea, I have to go do it.
Yeah.
So she'd see me at like 1 a.m, pop out of bed. And I was like, I just got an idea. I got to go try it. Right. And
yeah.
So we were running simulations and models and things like that. So I really cut my teeth on working with great software, working with heavy data, and helping companies make decisions with incomplete information. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm working with some of the biggest companies in the country. And so it was a great opportunity to work for big companies, but not work for a big company.
Yeah.
And I've learned, with my dad that I never wanted to work for a big company. Right. I want to be able to run the place. I want to be able to have influence.
Yeah. There it is.
Right.
There it is.
And so I did 5 years there, and then I had this weird opportunity. And Dad said, I got a little bit of work. I don't have enough for you, but there's a calibration lab in town. Owner's got to leave. He's going back to going out of the country for a little while, and he needs somebody to run it. So I made a deal with the guy, and this was on a Friday. The guy said, okay, you can come run it. I said, I'm only going to be there 2 to 3 days a week. The other days, I'm going to start my own company. And my dad was a sole proprietor.
That's what you said to this guy. The other days,
I said, hey, I'll help you with this calibration company, right? And I'll run it for you because you're going to be out of the country. I understand how to run it. I said, let me run it for you. I'm only going to be there 2 to 3 days a week while I start my other business.
I want to ask you a real question here,
yeah,
as opposed to when we ask fake questions here on the line. But were you nervous?
Yeah.
Because you sound really I'm going to run the company for 3 days and then I'm going to do my thing. But like when you were doing that, what's going on in your mind?
Oh my God. And I found out on a Friday he needed an answer before Monday.
Okay, so tell the truth. What's going on in your mind?
Word. So, well, number one, I had a baby at home, right? I had a new
first
baby,
one?
First one.
Oh, that's a whole added
It's a whole added thing. But what had helped was my wife and I had done the Dave Ramsey program.
Yeah.
Right? And so we had really focused on getting out of debt.
My wife and I did that when we were first married. It was pretty crazy.
Because we did that before we had kids.
Yeah.
I was able to take that leap. Right now, was I nervous? Heck yeah. I was actually more nervous about probably telling the people at St. Onge because they were great people.
Yeah.
And about disappointing them.
Yeah.
But starting my own thing, I was really excited about, and I knew I had enough work to kind of make it go.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had the math down. I was getting a lot of pushback from family and other people, especially older generation, who were like, you crazy? You're going to jump out and do your own thing. You got this great gig and you could do this for the rest of your life.
I don't think people understand when, I mean, it sounds like, and I can relate to this, having started some things, like it begins to build in you to a point where you cannot breathe.
Oh, you got to do it.
If you don't do it. Yeah. And it's like, you come to that point, it's like, hey, it's either going to succeed or it's going to fail, but then I'll know.
And if I don't do it,
yeah,
I'm going to always wonder.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing this, and I've started a couple of other companies now, and some of them work, some of them don't, and that's fine. But I did.
Boy, I understand. I understand.
And that first one is, look, I was in the basement, right? And, treadmill behind me and little card table and a tiny little laptop. That's what I started with. And my first job I took, outside of working for the calibration lab. And I'm answering emails all day. And so I'm essentially running a company and starting my own at the same time.
Yeah. Which honestly was probably phenomenal experience for you.
Oh, 100%. I learned sales because I had to do sales for them.
Yeah.
Right. We were working on how do we get everybody paid? How do we,
Yeah.
and customer service, because for calibration.
Those last two are really fun ones.
Oh gosh.
How do we get everybody paid in customer service?
Yeah. And so keeping our people happy and keeping the customer happy. And so that was me answering questions. I got beat up in so many audits. And, you know, my first audit there was a British guy, and it felt great. I got beat up by the nicest guy in the world, right? Because it just came across as all okay. And I came out with a bunch of findings from an audit. And from there, I was able to respond and really get good at writing audit findings. And I use that all the time now, right?
Yeah.
Audit responses, I can write those. So I was able to do that and start adding these customers in. My first big customer asked me to write their ERP system, their whole system.
Wow.
And, you know, I was like, I think I can do this. And they said, they said that we want it in Microsoft Access. And I was like, okay. And so I did it. I said it like 11 grand. And I thought that was big numbers at the time.
Sorry.
So I did it. I can tell you that.
How fast did they sign that contract?
Oh, they were in.
11 grand. They're like, yes.
They were in. I did it in Microsoft Access because they wanted software that they already owned. They didn't want to buy something. So I did it there. They're still using it today.
Wow.
And that was in 2011, 2012.
Wow.
So, hey, it must have worked. I learned that I don't write ERP systems for people anymore. But was it a great experience? Heck yeah. Like that, those kind of things. And then learning what we were really good at. Right?
Boy, there it is.
And focusing on those things.
Yeah.
So then I started really focusing on, all right, my dad and I started working together. I have my own company. He has his. We're literally trading checks in parking lots, right? So we can keep the account. Hey, I'll meet you there. I'll get a check to you. And so we were able to grow and hired my first employee, probably 10 years ago, 13 years ago, 10, 11, 13 years ago, something like that. Chad, he's still with me. He's great.
Yeah.
He's one of my directors. He took a huge leap, right? Because I had no employees. Right. And we came up with the craziest pay scale that you've ever seen that we lasted a year. But he's with us now, and he is one of my directors. I have two directors. And because of that, we just continue to add people and grow. And so we ended up rolling my dad's clients into mine. Dad still helps us out when we need help. And
that's a really cool thing.
And look, I run everything still by him. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is this crazy? Right. If it's a big contract, I'm like, hey, I still get him to look over it.
See, I think that's something, people hear the term consultant or coach, and they're like, why do I want to pay you money for that? Yeah. And you're experiencing that with your dad, like the ability to be able to consult with him. And I'm sure there's some coaching going on there.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like, the reality is, one, that not all of us have that. In your situation, it's very unique. Like my father, he couldn't consult for me in what I'm doing because he doesn't have that experience. Yep. But he can coach, and it's like, but some of us need that, and quite honestly, there reaches a point where depending on what experience you have, you need to find people that can coach you or consult in areas and that's so cool that you have that with your dad and that you have that value.
It's been really fun to be able to kind of build this alongside of him. He's been able to see it go and go from, we're up to 10 of us now.
Wow.
Right. Starting, with him and then him and me, and I'm in the basement, and now there's 10 of us, and we are on a really fast path to continue that growth. And so 2 years ago, we got to the point where I said, Dad, I need some help. I've gotten it this far, but I'm struggling. How do I get to the next big jump? Right. Yeah. And that's something he and I have never done. And so I ended up hiring another consultant. I still meet with him once a week. We're 2 years in. His name's Stephen Hoffman, and he's been amazing for us.
Wow.
So he pushes me every week. We do some of that EOS stuff, which is some entrepreneurship operating systems.
Yeah, Gino Wickman.
And I do it, I would say EOS Lite is probably how we operate. But
EOS Lite, I love that.
But because of that, it's really given us the structure. And I was at the point where we built some pretty good systems, but they weren't robust enough for us to build on.
Yeah.
And so we spent the past 2 years making our accounting system robust. Right? Making our internal processes and procedures robust. How do we train people? How do we bring them in and get people up to speed quickly? And because of that, now we're ready for that growth. Right.
Yeah.
But it's been 2 years of that. And I can tell you, I'm going to keep meeting with this guy once a week. He holds me to it.
Yeah.
Right. So once a week, I know I got to have that stuff done, or I'm going to feel bad that I didn't deliver.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge deal. But all through that, I recognize that our customers are here. We're throughout the country, but probably 80% here in South Central PA.
Okay.
Our customers are here, but they're struggling.
Yeah.
They're struggling to get people, right? They're struggling meeting their requirements.
It's a real problem.
And so I tend to do a lot of nonprofit work. Maybe they see sucker written across my face. I don't know. I always end up on a board or something like that. And I started locally with our American Society for Quality. And, I was at some of their meetings. They asked me to help. So I ran that board for 2 years. And we really started to embrace doing some cool quality things locally. Some events, getting people out to, some interesting locations and things like that. And that kind of set me up for some other boards. And eventually I ended up on the board here at the Manufacturers Association to help guide them. Right. Yeah. And, that's a paid position. That is all about.
Well, and if you're listening right now, we're sitting in the Manufacturers Association training lab.
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Yeah. This is our manufacturing training lab.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was on the board, and I don't know if you can tell, but I certainly am willing to talk. Right.
I didn't notice.
And I tend to be an idea guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to say, bring me into a meeting. Let me just shoot ideas at you. 8 of them might be bad, but 2 of them are going to be gold.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And so, let me work through that. And the association really let me do some of that.
Wow.
And I ended up being board president and following some really great folks who helped get the structure behind the financials for the association in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And this was mid-COVID. COVID just hit, and we were deciding, where are we going with this association? Right?
Yeah.
And seeing that our members, right, and you join as a member here, our companies join, our members need employees that are trained and ready to go. And how are we training the next generation?
Yeah.
And so we embraced that model. We were in an older building. It wasn't real conducive. And so the question was, do we take the leap? And do we move to a new building? And that's the building we're in now. And we did it in the middle of COVID, which looking back, it's like, oh man, I felt like we were pretty gutsy because, could we have afforded it at the time? And we were pushing it. But because of that, we grew from, we were probably 270 members. We have 450 some now, which is excellent. But we've grown our apprenticeship program and really focused on how do we focus to deliver training and get manufacturers with the people they need, right? And with the skills that they need, and recognizing that college isn't delivering anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Our members here and my customers, look, they're going to look for an engineer or two.
Yeah.
They're going to look for the folks in management, but they need more people on the shop floor. And those people aren't there anymore. Students have been sold a bill of goods for years that college is the only choice and manufacturing's dirty, right? And you don't want to be there. And
I want to get into that, but before we make that transition, I want to ask you 2 questions right now. One, and then I'm going to ask you the other question that I talked with you about. I cannot get away the way that you're talking about different things and you're telling your origin story. And even every organization that you've been in, that you've been talking about here, I think there's some relevance to this. And maybe I'm wrong, but why did you name your company Ledge?
So, you're probably going to be wrong. I couldn't come up with a name.
Yeah.
I was really struggling. And I happened to live on.
I love that he just said, I'm probably going to be wrong. So that's great. I'm really nervous now. So
no, so I came up with names. I kept getting them to the lawyer, and he's like, nope, there's already one, nope.
That's a fun experience.
It's horrible. And they were like, you need a name now.
Yeah.
And I was on with a buddy of mine from college who I still work with today, and he's like, what street do you live on? I said, I live on Ledge Drive. He's like, there's your name. And so I love it because that's where we started.
So do you realize that is the story that you've told over the past 15 minutes, 20 minutes, has been all about stepping up to the ledge, going up to the ledge,
yep,
and then jumping off?
Yeah, 100%.
Like that's what you told about your father. That's what you told about you're talking about this guy needs an answer to run this company, and it's like that's what you're doing. And so I didn't know it was named after a street you grew up on, but that almost sounds like divine providence in what is been going on through the history of what you guys were doing. You were just talking about the Manufacturing Association and COVID and going all the way up to the ledge and then jumping off.
Yep.
And I think sometimes the problem is people come up to the ledge and they look over and they can't see and they miss out. And that's some of what we're actually going to talk about today when we get into some things with AI, which I would say that you are an expert in. And so, and because I've heard you speak on it, and but it's like people come up to that, and instead of taking the jump, they turn around and go back to the way they've always done things.
So I think you nailed it. And I think this is something that I teach some engineering courses, and this is something I preach to engineers, is the good engineers and good business people can make decisions with incomplete information.
Yeah.
Right? And you're never going to have enough information to be comfortable to make that jump.
It actually doesn't matter what industry you're talking about. If you're leading change and you're leading growth, which you should be, then you're going to be making decisions without all the information.
Yeah. And so it's deciding at what point do I have enough to make that call, and being gutsy enough that if it doesn't work, that it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've made marketing decisions and tested things and know that I got to spend some money to find out if that works or not.
Yeah.
And some of those are jumping off a ledge and it's expensive, and
some are falling off the ledge.
And Sorry. You're thrilled to turn that thing off when you're finally out of your contract. You're like, oh, thank goodness. So yeah, that happens, and you got to be comfortable making that.
Yeah.
But you have to set yourself up in a position that you can take that risk, right? And so you think about Dave Ramsey, right? That's like running the company in a way that you can take that risk and withstand it, right? And being to the point where I'm not living on the edge that if we don't make it, we're not going to eat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, putting yourself in a position where you can take some of those risks. Right. And so we've been able to do that. And honestly, it's something that I've always kind of pushed myself to do. Like if there's something hard, that's what I want to go try.
That is the only way that you can experience growth.
Yeah.
Whether it's in business or personal growth, you have to face the hard things. What's a tool or a piece of gear or a tool that you use every day?
So I would say probably a year ago, I would have said I absolutely love my Remarkable tablet, and I'm taking notes on it every day. It's cool.
Gosh, right? Everybody says that.
A year ago, I would have said that.
Okay.
Now it's the AI tools that we have. I mean, I'm on AI and using the tool to grow every day, right? And so even when I'm in the car, which is insanity to say, I'm not typing into it. My car has Grok built into it. I can talk to it.
Yeah.
I am able to formulate my thoughts, right? And produce the materials that I want to produce. So I'm able to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Help me. It's just this thought partner to help me get that down. And so I'm using it all the time, but it's given me confidence to jump out of sort of my comfort zone of quality and manufacturing and start doing some other things.
So talk with me about, AI is a very interesting thing. I was talking with you about movies earlier and things like that. And, and I'm trying to speak even from my experience, because it's like I grew up, and some people before me probably read the book 1984, or like if you're like me, you watched a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger called The Terminator. And so we've been set up for what AI could become in our worst possible nightmares. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it can't become that, but tell me, when you're speaking to people like myself and maybe even older people or people like my kids, they don't know any of that. Yeah. So they're not worried about that, which is actually a little concerning to me. Because one of the things that you talked about in when I sat in the seminar that you gave, which was really good, by the way.
Appreciate that.
No offense to engineers, but you weren't boring. Sometimes you can get so stuck on the facts and you really talked about things, but you said one thing that really struck me. And what I'd like you to answer for me is, what do you say to those people that are concerned about this? Because earlier this year, I've adopted some AI things and I've been using it, and I'm a little disgusted with the fact that I realized that if I want to exist in business, I have to use it.
Not a choice.
And really frustrated with how effective and helpful it is. But when I was in your seminar, you made this comment, and I'm still trying to figure out how to process it. You said AI will lie to you.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to, so it's a kind of a two-part thing here. What do you say to people that have the 1984/Terminator experience? And then what do you do when you know that something can lie to you and how you utilize it?
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So two parts. One, I mean, I get that pushback a lot. And I would say, number one, it's coming whether you want it to or not, right? So while that's a scary answer, it's coming.
Yeah.
Part of that is how do you decide how you're using it, right? And don't put yourself at risk for some of those things, right? So we're trying.
Come on, this is good.
When I ask people to build things, I'm saying let's build it, but let's build it with the guardrails in place.
Yeah.
Right now, there's too many companies that are either they're not giving their people guidelines. So
Yeah.
guess what? Your employees are using it, and what are they putting in there? That scares me.
Yeah.
Right. And what are you putting in there personally? That's concerning. Right. So I would be careful as to what I put in. Right.
Well, and you said this in your seminar, and this is probably a really good thing to speak to. If you're a company or organization and you do not have an AI policy, stop what you're doing right now. And you can ask AI to write it for you.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard, and you should have it because to what you said, that's where the danger is. Let me rephrase this. Your employees are using it. The reality is you don't know how they're using it. You haven't defined it, and that can put you at risk.
Right. So I want to give them the right tool. I spoke last Tuesday here at the association, and that was the first time I've been giving that talk, a version of that talk. It's different every week because AI changes so fast. But yeah. I've been giving a version of that talk almost 2-3 times a month for the past year. I mean, and it just keeps going. But last week was the first time that I said, who in the room is using AI?
Yeah.
Every hand went up.
Yeah, that was shocking to me, actually.
That's the first time. 6 months ago, it was half the room.
Yeah.
So I've never seen a technology get into people's hands as quickly as this, right? And so they're using it. I think you're dead on. Putting that policy in place is critical. It's so critical. This is interesting. On Friday, I met with our local school district, and they asked me to review their AI policy and give them advice on it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is really interesting because I want I have 3 kids in the school district, and I want there to be some guardrails about what they can use AI for, but I don't want to turn it off.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to prevent them from learning. I want you shouldn't prevent your employees from using it.
Agreed.
But you need to give them a tool that they can use. This kind of hit me a couple months ago when I got a new customer in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And I said, how'd you find us? Because I don't market much in the Midwest, right? We kind of focus our marketing here. So we asked ChatGPT who to use, and it said to use you guys.
Yeah.
Well, number one, awesome.
Yeah.
But 2, it's like, how does it know? And I recognize I've probably been training ChatGPT on us.
Yeah.
For years, right?
Yes.
Or for 2 years that I've been really focusing on using it.
Oh,
right?
you need to read some of Marcus Sheridan's books. He is all about this.
And I think it's interesting. So I feel like there's a whole new path to marketing, which is how are we I'm going to stop paying for Google ads very soon because they're taking stuff off my website anyways and just putting it, using it and putting it at the top.
Well, and the reality is this is going to seem a little self-promoting here of Blackline, but what you should be doing is producing content.
It's all about content.
It's all about content. And the more that you produce, the more AI, because listen, all AI is doing is searching what is on the internet.
Yep. Well, and so you nailed it. I weirdly have written blogs for years. Yeah. So my website is filled with blogs about what we do. And look, they're quality blogs.
Come on.
And so they might not be the most exciting blog in the history of the world, but they're all out there, and we hit very specific topics in quality and manufacturing.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're getting some nice traffic on a lot of the AI tools. So you kind of nailed it there. So I see these companies using it. And then I see I want to encourage your people to use it.
Yeah.
Right. So they start to learn it and look for the use cases.
Yeah.
This is the first software that you're going to give it to your employees, not knowing what they're going to use it for.
Yeah.
Right. We're not saying, here's your new ERP system. It does X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right. Instead, we're saying, here's your system. Tell me where we can use it. Right.
Yeah.
Give me the use case, and either you can build it or we'll build it. Right. And we'll start building these solutions for you. I worry right now, I see people trying to use it on too high of a level, and saying it's going to solve all these really hard problems in my company. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm looking instead to solve the simple problems that are wasting your people's time. And so I'll give you maybe an example for one of those. I have clients that when they get material in, they have to review a material cert that says, here's the chemical and physical properties associated with this material. Okay, and while they do that, can a receiving person do that? Maybe. I'm not sure if they're technically qualified to do that.
Right.
I can tell you they're the messiest documents you've ever seen. They're terrible. But if that comes in and you don't do that, and the material doesn't meet the customer's requirements when it gets there, we got a problem. And so we just build an AI tool that scans it, compares it to the spec, and says, does it meet or does it not? Well, this takes seconds now, right? Instead of having somebody look at every one of those certs when they come through the door.
Yeah.
So now the number one time saver on that side is huge, but two, the time saver on the back end when a customer rejects something is huge. So we're looking for those maybe simpler things that you're doing that your people aren't putting, there's just time there, right? And instead we're able to scrub some of that time out and save your people time so they can concentrate on the important task.
Yeah.
And letting it work with our people. So we're looking for those kind of solutions, and I would say so we're uniquely positioned for this. In the AI world, I see a lot of companies promising a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay. But not really understanding what the real use cases are.
Yeah.
Right? Not being able to connect that to a manufacturer.
Yeah.
And so my background in data analytics as a computer guy, right, for all these years, you and I talked, you're setting this stuff up. I'm a tech kind of guy.
Yeah.
And a connection to the manufacturing world, we're seeing what those use cases are and we're building them for people right now.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean I'm going to solve your exact problem? No, but I want to plant the seed with your people to say, okay, that's interesting. I kind of see where he's going with that. Here's how that applies to us.
Yeah.
And so what we've been doing is just cranking out, so we're delivering, number one, a solution with guardrails. That's something I'm really focused on. So using AI tools that don't learn.
I was going to ask you that question because I heard a little mini YouTube video that you and your director did, Chad, that you were talking about. And you talked about utilizing AI that doesn't learn, and talk about that from a manufacturing standpoint, just in the sense of why that's so important. Because a lot of people don't realize, so let's just take a pause for a second. Remember where you were, but I want to pause and I want to talk about this. We live in a very unique time right now. And there's a lot of talk about different things going on. And I think that we need to start to reset our perspective in the way that we look at things, because wars will be different. The world will be different. And the way that we look at things will be different. The change is coming. And all you need to do is look to history. We talked about this earlier, back in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, which I find this interesting also because I believe that history goes in cycles. Mm-hmm. And typically it's about every 80 years or so. And there's some big crisis type situation or change in what's going on. And in the early 1900s, it was automobiles.
Yep.
And in less than 20 years, an entire industry almost disappeared.
Yep.
And so I believe that what's going on with AI, and what I will say is, people talk about, World War III, all this stuff. And so let me just be really clear here. This is a bold statement. I want to be careful with this. I feel like we're already in World War III. And let me explain what I mean, and you can correct me. It's okay. I won't be offended by that. But it's like, I don't feel like here in the United States that we are aware of the race for AI, which is similar to the race for the nuclear bomb in World War II. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we are also aware. We're so worried about AI stealing our jobs. It is not going to do that. It is going to create you an opportunity, in my belief.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's coming whether you want it to or not.
Yep.
The stagecoach driver or the stagecoach company, when Henry Ford started what he was doing with the Model T, the ones that survived and that actually became big name companies are the ones that decided, I'm going to learn that and go with that.
It's a pivot. So we have to give them the opportunity to pivot.
Talk about that.
We have to give them the opportunity for training. right?
There it is.
Like that's going to be the critical part. If we see whole industries, turning, guess what? We need people in manufacturing. So great, let's get them into manufacturing from these other industries, right? This is an amazing opportunity.
Well, and just talk about that for a second in the sense of here we are in York, Pennsylvania, and a lot of our manufacturing, one of the biggest things that I heard Mike Rowe say this, and he talked about the Navy, the U.S. Navy, and the specifically submarines. And they reached out to Mike Rowe Works, and they were like, we need 100,000 electricians. We need 100,000 welders. Why?
So great question. So here at the Manufacturers Association, we've gotten that same question from the Build Submarine guys.
Yeah.
And $6 million from them to
Well,
help.
I love it when people ask questions and also give me $6 million. That's
How do you like that? And what they want to do is we need to support the submarine complex. So South Central PA is the biggest supplier of components for the submarine industrial complex in the United States, right? Wow. Nobody knows that. All these parts are made locally. And so they recognize that as a potential problem. We've been screaming about it for years that we don't have enough people. And so what they're doing is helping us invest in building the training centers and getting the students connected with the companies to get into those positions. The great part about it is I'm seeing students to get the message now.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you go back to what that race is, China's building like 60, 80, 100 subs a year.
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Right. We're building 2.
Come on.
Now, when you look at that, and by the way, can we get 2 out? Hopefully. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Now,
it should be.
Our technology is vastly superior to theirs. Great. But let's continue that, hopefully. And they're working on catching up, and they're using AI to do it. Now, luckily, once again, our technology is better. We still have control on the chips. Right. And so it's critical that we continue to invest in those areas and get our people up to speed on that. And so that has been our sort of message here. We're hiring, we're bringing in people to help companies connect with students, connect with other training centers, and build this giant network of people who can train people for the submarine complex right here.
Well, and talk about that. So we're sitting here, there's a sign behind me in the background, and I believe there is, this industrial learning system related to all these controls and whatnot. Yep. And we're sitting here in the Manufacturing Association's training lab. And, talk about what it is. You talked earlier, and I find it really interesting how training and AI are coming together. And let me frame the question for you in this way. I heard you make a comment about, we need to use AI. It's coming for us regardless. But you and I were talking earlier about training in the way that we've learned. And I really, I respect the way that you framed it in talking about, people learning with experience. Like you talked about when you went to school and then you spent a week, actually with the machinist, or I don't remember exactly, but talk about here's the question. You said AI can do these things, but then how are you going to get the training to be a senior developer?
Yeah, so
talk about that.
Let's start with that question first. And it's the easiest place to do this is with software development, because AI is pretty good at writing code.
Yeah.
Not a crappy code, but it's code nonetheless, and it can be functional. And so does it write the easy code? Yes. So if I'm going to pay a developer, if I'm making an application, we're in the middle of making a new app right now, and I could have AI do it. I've been messing with Lovable. I can have it program an app. So do I need the junior programmer to do that? Maybe not, right? Because Lovable just did that for me. Can I fix the code? Nope. Nope.
I love your honesty there.
I can't. So I need a senior developer to actually deliver the end solution. Okay. Yeah. But the question is, how do you ever become a senior developer if you've never been a junior developer?
Come on, that's the question.
Right. And so that's gonna happen across industries. That's not just a developer question. That's gonna be across industries.
Yeah.
The cool thing is there's a model for this already, and we've done this for hundreds of years. We just kind of lost it, and that's that apprenticeship model. Right.
There it is.
And so the association here has really embraced that. And the idea is give students another option, another pathway. Right. The pathway has been, when I was growing up, we're about the same age, right? The pathway was high school, college, job.
Yes.
Right? And so now, what if there's another way? What if it's high school, career and classes at night, and apprenticeship, job, no debt?
Yeah.
Right. And so we've been working with that.
Say that one again.
No debt.
Yeah.
Right. And so we see these kids who go through an apprenticeship class versus a student who went through college, didn't work.
Yeah.
It's $250,000 difference coming out.
$250,000 and you're coming out still with no
Zero.
real world experience.
Yeah. No experience.
Zero.
Yeah. So you spent $250,000, you spent money on college, you didn't work during those years. So what the association has done has become the sponsor for these apprenticeships. And one of the hard parts about apprenticeships, it's still a bit of an old model on the state level because they have to approve it, right? And there's a little
bit of a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not easy.
We've both been through that process. I know. We don't need to talk about that.
But the association has gotten really good at it.
Yeah.
And so the idea is let them have the apprenticeship, right? The company doesn't have to do that piece.
Yeah.
Right. And so the company has to have some people there that can help with the training. The student works during the day, takes classes at night, and either in 2 or 4 years, they come out with their Pennsylvania State Apprentice papers.
Yeah.
Right. And that's huge. Number one, those are great. That sets that student up for a really great career. Number one. Two, it guarantees a pay scale. Right.
Yes.
So we work with the pay scale on, hey, once you get this class done, then you get to here.
If you're listening, he's describing right now how apprenticeship works. And this is why, if you're looking for a career and what to do and what to start with, apprenticeship really matters because you can actually see if you're in a 2-year, 3-year, or 4-year program, you can see where you're going to be in 4 years.
Well, and the companies here are sponsoring you. So you're not spending a dime.
Yeah. Let's define that. Sponsoring you, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
And most times, they're also paying for you to work.
Yeah, so you're working during the day, you're making money, you're taking classes at night, you're going to be so far in front of your friends who just spent 4 years going to school and partying,
Yeah.
right, with a career and ready to go, that it's really mind-boggling. So the other thing that we've been working on is, look, I still think college is important, right? I'm an engineer, there's still a place for it. So we've worked hard with our local institutions that our credits transfer.
Yeah.
So our credits from our apprenticeship transfer to Thaddeus Stevens over in Lancaster. And for a couple gen eds, they can get their associate's degree.
Yeah.
And look, if you're a company, would you not sponsor that?
Yeah, come on.
Heck yeah. I'm going to keep my people happy. I'm going to help them get those degrees, help them get up to speed. And so we see it. I think parents have gotten the message. And I would say I see that mostly. I help on some advisory committees at our local tech school. Our tech school is filled.
Yeah.
They are taking, I believe they get about 1,200 applicants a year. They take about 600 kids. Okay. While that's excellent that they're full, it's scary that there are kids that want to go there and want this as an opportunity and they don't have it. So we need to give those students some other pathways and, well, hopefully be able to expand that career training too. But I think 10 years ago, parents didn't have this message. Parents are like, if my kid doesn't go to college, I'm like, I didn't do something right. It's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I think that is all flipped.
Do
on
you
its
think
head.
parents have I don't. All right. So I don't like to disagree with people in the podcast, and I don't know if I disagree with you, but let's have this conversation. I don't know if it's parents who've realized that as much as it's kids. I've worked a lot with Gen Z, and communicating and talking with people, and it's like they're really coming into this world, and they're really smart.
They're really smart, and guess what? We just gave them like AI, and they can learn really quickly.
Well, and I mean it from this point. The reason I say they're really smart is they're looking at college, and they're looking at life, and they're like, I don't know that I want to have $250,000 in debt.
Yep.
And they're also looking at, I have all these friends that have these degrees and don't have jobs. Or
I saw my parents who went to college and maybe had debt the whole way through their life and talked about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I would say it's still degree dependent, right?
Yes.
If you're going to go be an engineer, you're going to get a job.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're out there. And so, and I talk about this with my kids all the time. Hey, like, what are we thinking? And so I give them the opportunities to go see colleges, to go see a department. I bring them in here so they can see this, right? If they want to be a machinist, be a machinist. I will help you get there.
Yeah.
Right. There's pathways for us to do that. My oldest is really talking engineering school. And so great. Love the plan. Let's go see a couple, but let's evaluate it based on the value, not on the name of the school. Right. We visited one that's $80,000 a year. Penn State's down the road. That's half the cost. Where does it make sense to spend the money?
Yeah.
And so, when you come out, and I think there's some pretty cool opportunities. We're really focused on like the 529s for our kids.
Yeah.
But there's some, I've had even the conversation with my son, if there's money left at the end, I'll put it in a Roth IRA for you.
Yeah.
And what an interesting decision for him to make at 18 or 22 to say, okay, I could almost set my retirement up.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a weird thing to put that in front of a kid.
Yeah.
But if I can get him thinking about that now and thinking about that future, right, it's not about, the college is not the goal.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that as a lot of people focusing on, man, the goal is to get into this college. No, that's not the goal. The goal is what's after that.
Well, I think all of this ties into the overarching theme of what you've been talking about, and that is training.
Yeah.
And it's like, whether we're, as parents, we need to train our kids. I had an epiphany years ago with my kids. We were working on something, and I was so frustrated. Sorry, I'm revealing some of my weaknesses as a father. I was so frustrated with my son that he wasn't doing something right. And all of a sudden, I had this thought in my mind, and I'm like, he has no idea how to do that. He has no experience in how to do that. He's never been taught that. And then I was like irritated. Yeah, well, why does he know that? Like this, I think very, very fast. Because this all happened in like a 20-second time period in my mind. And then I was like, yeah, he doesn't know that. Why does he not know that? Oh, that's my job to teach him that. I
never taught him.
Yeah, exactly. And training is, I actually believe, slowing down and helping them. Like you're talking about that stuff with your son. That is formulating some things. Like when we're born, the time from our birth until roughly about 18 is like, we're like wired. This is my electrician coming up. We're like wired to learn.
Yeah.
Think about it from a standpoint of when you were, when you're really young, you look at your dad and he is the greatest hero. There's nothing that he can't do. My dad can beat up your dad, and it's like, my dad can do anything. And then as you get older, you realize that your dad's just a man.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that I love my father. I'm just saying you realize those things. And, but when you are young and you're like that, that's an opportunity for your father to be able to speak into your life, for you to be able to hear and implement and learn and grow in a way that when you're 35, it's different.
Yeah. Well, so that's something I do focus on with my kids, is giving them an opportunity to learn something if they want to.
Yeah.
I try not to push it, but I say, hey, here's a cool tool. You want to learn it? And if they want to jump in, great. If not, no. And so I'm kind of a sucker for that. Yeah. We actually have, here in York, we have this like kids play space, and it's all about science and tech. And I'm the vice president of the board because they know.
What board are you not on?
That's
man?
actually a problem. But
maybe we need to have your wife on the podcast and talk about the boards that you're on.
That's a good point. But it's I love it because I get to kind of work with kids at that age, right? Yeah. These younger kids who are trying to figure out what they like.
Yeah.
Right. And then from there, I get to help at our local tech school. And these kids are in high school now; they're getting some focus. Then I help to teach at Elizabethtown College. I'm not doing it this year, but
you are making me tired. Please stop. What do you? Wow.
But then I get to be in an advisory role at Penn State's engineering and Elizabethtown engineering, and I've been able to help sort of guide what they're teaching kids. And so I see them at all these different levels, and then see them here. And where can we get them interested in manufacturing and send them in that direction?
Yeah.
And so that I think is just a huge opportunity for us to like spark that fire in them.
Yeah.
And yes, if I take another board role, my wife might. but I'm even on it's funny, your history comment earlier. I'm on the History Center board, and we had a meeting last night, and I love it because it's all like there's tons of manufacturing history there.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it's amazing if you ever want a cool tour. I mean, last night they fired up their ammonia compressor machine for us. And this is, a machine that used to make ice, one of the first, ones when we were making ice here in York. And that's why York County makes all these air compressors and air conditioning systems, because York started making ice so long ago. It's just amazing to see what comes out of this area. And then like, how do we circle that back? You circle it back to the York plan. Their goal was to share work between each other. Right. Yeah. And so now our goal is how do we help each other train? How do we help each other to get to that next level? AI is going to be a piece of that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I would say a great example is I use it personally a lot to try. I am so much more confident on home projects because I've got a coach with me that doesn't make fun of me.
Yeah.
I think you and I talked. I bought a welder a couple weeks ago and decided to weld a little bit at my house. I learned to weld in college. I'm not good at it. I've taught it. I understand welding theory, but I've just never had the time to do it. And so I needed to weld something. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy it. And I bought it, and then I took some pictures of it, and I loaded it into our AI tool and said, how's my weld? And it said, you should immediately rework this. I said, noted. I said, but I'm going to try it, and it's still working. But it's interesting, and actually I'd like to circle that back to your comment on confidence, on how do we know it's not lying to us?
Yeah.
That is something I've really worked hard to build into those kind of tools. So I built a weld analysis tool, for instance, and the more context I give it, the more confident it is in its answer. So if I just drop a picture in and say, here's the picture of my weld, tell me what I did wrong, right? In my response, in the prompt that I've written, I ask it at the bottom to give me how confident are you in your answer, and what did you make up, right? What were you not sure about? And it'll give me a report. And if it says it's 65% confident, I need to dig into this.
Yeah.
So our tool, instead of allowing one picture, I allow 3 pictures. I allow you to pick what material you were using. Put in your weld procedure if you have one. Put in your the weld process you were using, right? Put in all that context. If it has that, then all of a sudden my answer is 90%, right? So now it's starting to build those tools and build the kind of features into it, so you can alert the user on, is this made up or not?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's really been part of learning AI, is learning how to prompt it so you can get that good info out.
Yeah.
Right. That good. And we should stop and not use that answer, or I got to dig deeper, or if it's 100%, maybe I'm comfortable, moving forward with that.
Yeah.
There's a question people tend to ask on that is, number one, is sort of how confident am I in this? And 2 is, what is the risk?
Yeah.
Right. If I'm highly confident, it's low risk. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
We can use it. If I'm not so confident it's high risk, then I'm not going to do it, right? So in material cert analysis, right? If I'm inspecting material for nuclear reactors, I'm still going to put somebody's eyeball.
Yeah.
Right?
You think?
I'm not going to use my AI tool as the final,
Yeah.
But is it a gate for that material to get through the door? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe that material comes in and sits for a couple months because we don't have time to look at it. Well, I could check it right when it comes in the door, know that it's not good, and fix it then versus 6 months later.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's looking for those opportunities where we can use it.
And those are some of the ways that we can use AI and should use AI, because then you can focus on things that are more important.
More important, and the things where you can add value. And
there it is. That's a better way to say it.
I would say this is interesting. So I'm really trying to find the use cases for my team. So we're out doing quality system implementation or auditing somebody's quality system. How do we do that? And I'm not looking to take my people out of that equation. I'm looking to take the report writing time out. That's not value added, right? The important time for them is to be looking at documents, right? So instead of now looking at 3-5 documents while they do an audit, I'm building them a tool that they can go look at 10, go look at 20, and just take some quick notes, or talking to it is what we were working yesterday. Talking to the tool, and it'll compile that and create the report for us.
Yeah. Right.
So we're going to take the not value added part out and let our team spend time doing the important things.
Talk about we talked a little bit about this, and I think it's an important thing for people to kind of start to wrap their head around in the way to use AI. In this sense, we talked about, you and I kind of around the same age and Googling things.
Yeah.
And, like when I started in business, people used to get really frustrated because it'd be like they would Google something, and then I would Google it, and I would ask a question in a specific way, and Google would give me the answer.
Yeah.
Talk about this.
So I would say my wife is still angry that I can Google better than her and doesn't understand why, right?
And tell people what that means.
Yeah, and it's she asks a question and she struggles finding the answer, and I can change the wording and I'll find that answer immediately. And so my take is, if you can be good at Google, you can be good at AI, and it's learning the tricks to building those prompts. Right. And it's starting to work with it. And honestly, that is just time. It's like welding. It's just time in the seat.
Yeah.
Right. I just have to play with it. And so giving your people the tools to be able to go mess with it and see what works and what doesn't. Right. And knowing what tools to use and when, that is all time in the seat. You can't sit in a classroom. I've never been able to learn like a software by sitting in a classroom and sitting there trying to learn it.
Yeah.
I have to go mess with it, see what it can't do, see what it can do, and then I'll learn it. I need the use case.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do here. But teaching people to prompt, we're actually in the middle of building a class around this. I don't like the word prompt engineer. I think that's weird. So I see it. I see it maybe a little more like context engineer. You're trying to learn how to give it the context that it can get you the answer that you want.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be the trick with AI, is not only letting people use it, but then building tools that will give you repeatable results.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's part of building tools, that is how do you even test it to make sure you're going to get the results that you want to get? What's the validation process on that? That's been really interesting for us to kind of work through. I did it. I built a quoting tool for my own company, right? With the idea, I put in a year's worth of proposals behind it, so it knows how I write. And so now my business development guy can enter some key pieces of information in, and it'll build a proposal for us.
Yeah.
Well, how do I check that? Well, I just pull up all these old proposals and say, is it accurate? Does it have the numbers right? And it's nailing it.
Yeah.
And so when it does that, now we're able to validate it. And so building those tools and then looking for how do we make it better and tweaking it and giving it more context. That's the cool part, the context windows, and that's the kind of how big of an input can you put in or getting bigger.
Yeah.
So we're able to do that and get bigger and better things out of it. I'm working on some weird solutions right now that are really big problems. I'm trying to see how hard I can push it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm trying right now is to build a scheduling tool with
Yeah.
AI. One of
That would be huge.
a shop's biggest problem is how do I schedule the right people, the right time, the right job?
Yeah.
And I started really big because I wanted to see if I made everything. I put in machine downtime, vacations, everything. Can it get there? And I'm crashing it out. And that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I need to know the limits so I can then start pulling back and saying, okay, let's try it here. Let's try it there. And so we're working through those kind of things so I can show companies we can use its intelligence for that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for those bottlenecks. That is a bottleneck at every company. They all have their scheduling wizard.
Actually, that's a bottleneck at every company, manufacturing, construction, whatever.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Right. And so I always say they have a scheduling wizard who knows everything in the shop and decides when things are going to happen. Right. Well, that is a big logic problem.
Yeah.
And guess what AI is pretty good at is big logic problems. So I'm working on trying to build tools that we can help companies figure that out. That has to be custom though for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. This is why nobody's ERP system works for scheduling. Nobody's.
Yeah.
Right. And they all hate it and it never works. And so I think AI actually has that possibility. You and I talked about this a little earlier. That siloed data problem.
Yeah.
Right. So historically people wanted all their data in one system because then it all kind of connected.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that system's horrible, but all our data's there.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. And so siloed data used to be a big problem, but now we have AI to make the connections between the two. We have really good integrations.
Yeah.
Right. That didn't exist before or were never really good. And so with that, I think now we can actually start to use good software and find good solutions and let AI be the connector between them. Right. So imagine building a good scheduling tool that pulls off of your ERP system instead of trying to use their crappy module.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where I think there's some really good potential where we have to customize things. You can do it quickly with AI. You can you can iterate so fast. It's just amazing. I can tell you, we're using it for stress testing a lot where we say, okay, scheduler guy, here's the schedule. What if a customer calls and says, hey, we need this done 2 weeks earlier. Can you do it? Well, what if I can get them an answer like that? Yeah. Right? Because he can ask the AI tool and say, okay, it's going to take us 2 extra hours of overtime to do that. So, hey, customer, if you want it, it's our shop rate times 2, right?
Right.
So you could kind of start to get to there where now we can use it as a tool to see what if scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And do it really instantly. So I see great possibilities for companies there. For leadership, to say, okay, what if everybody gets 5% raise? What does our cash flow look like? Right? Like now we can project that. Let AI do that projection for you. Right?
Yeah.
What if a tariff's going to hit? What does our cash flow look like in the next couple of weeks? Right? That could have a big impact. So if we can plan that out now and start seeing it and testing it, that's a huge. That's what I did at St. Onge. Right? We were looking at supply chains 2, 3, 5 years down the road, trying to figure out where companies were heading. And now we can test scenarios so much faster, right? I was running simulations that would take 8 hours, 24 hours to run, or these nonlinear math problems, right?
What do you say to the scheduler or to the people that are currently doing this that say, well, then I'm going to lose my job?
So I absolutely don't see companies trusting AI to make the decisions. I see it as a partner. They're working together, right? And so it's a way to think together with a tool.
So it's a tool in our tool belt is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see it replacing those folks, but I see it being really good at it, and then them helping to make decisions and,
to help give us context here. What would be an example that you would compare that to in something that we currently use in society now?
I mean, do you let your kids use a calculator? I mean, like let's think about that, right? When I see it in school, growing up, for us, it would have been, hey, you're not allowed to use the internet on this, right? You're not allowed to use the internet on this paper. Okay, well, now, do you think the kids are going to the library to do research? No, right?
That's a good point.
And so I think this is sort of that, we're going to that place where we got to let them use the tool, right? But let them understand how they need to use it.
Yeah.
Right? People know how to search the web now and see what's real and what's not, and to cite the web. We're going to have to do that with AI.
Yeah.
So part of this is training people on how to use AI, right? Training people on when it's appropriate, when it's not. Our school district really talked about that, and teachers now have the ability to say, you can use AI on this job, on this project or not. I love that plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let them. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes it's a really good fit, and sometimes it's not. And so, scale it and let the kids make that decision. But I think those kind of things are out there. Like day to day, you're going to let your people use Excel. You're going to give them that tool to do it, or you want them to go out and do it by hand. Heck no, we're going to give them the tool to do it, right? We've got bridge ports all around here.
Yeah.
Right? Bridge ports are amazing tools to learn on. Are they production machines? No.
Right.
Right? We're going to give our people a CNC machine, but where do I need them to learn? I need them to learn on a bridge port.
Yeah.
Right? So they understand drilling, milling, right? They understand how that stuff works before they get to the floor. And you tie that back to your apprentice program. I need people here, I need that older generation here to teach the younger generation and to do it fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because we need to have them at that expert level ASAP. It's not, this isn't a 5-year learning curve.
Right.
Right? This is take a year or two, and you better be an expert in that.
That's right. That's right.
And so I see that as an opportunity for our older generation to do that and to help get that knowledge out and use the apprentice programs to do that. Companies are required to have, I would assume you guys are the same way, to have some journeymen.
Oh, absolutely.
Staff, right?
Absolutely.
And so those journeymen need to be guiding these apprentices, and then they're coming here at night to learn how to do this. There's an argument of, do you train machinists directly on a CNC machine, or do you start them doing manual work first? And I've always been in the camp of starting on the manual work.
Yeah.
Right.
It unlocks some things in your brain to understand what it is that you're looking at.
Yeah. Penn State was pretty good about that. When I think back to even the math, right?
Yeah.
So Penn State math, I wasn't allowed to use a calculator in any math class. Right. And so I'm taking some serious calculus.
That was school for me. I wasn't allowed to use a calculator. I hated it.
Okay. Well, in my high school, I was allowed to use a calculator in calculus.
Yeah.
Well, guess who didn't actually learn calculus? I learned how to use a calculator, right? And so it was doing the math for me. So I could pass the AP test, but that doesn't mean I really knew it.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Penn State, I ended up retaking some of those because I was like, I don't feel like I know this well enough.
Yeah.
And so I see that it's the same way here, where you need to kind of get your hands dirty and do it. When I was interning during college, part of my job, I would be the engineer. If the other guy wasn't there, machine goes down, you got to go figure out what's going on. Yeah. But I was also running production, right? When guys would go on vacation, they'd say, hey, you're running a laser for the week, and you got to run production all week. And so great. That hands-on, critical for any engineer, anybody in leadership should get those hands-on experiences.
Yeah. So Adam, I feel like we're just scratching the surface here, but I talked with you earlier about the main two questions that I ask, and I've already asked you one. This next one is a personal favorite to me because I think it brings so much value. And I want to ask you, and I think people want to hear this, what is a mistake that you've made that you feel like has formulated for you some learning that you would want to share with others so that they maybe don't go down that road, they maybe don't make that mistake?
So been thinking about this a little bit, and my directors, I have 2 of them in my team, and I talk about this a lot, that we've changed a lot in the past 2 years, and it's because I've hired help. I'm not the expert in growing my business.
Come on.
Right? I'm not the expert on the back end. I'm not an accountant. I've learned accounting over the years, but I'm not an accountant. Right? And so I needed help on how do I get my business to the next size, to the next size, right? And so going out and asking, knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to pay for that help is critical, because I think that's the opportunity you have to really scale, right? Do the things you're good at and bring in people for the things that you're not. So I think you have some really cool opportunities. And so we see that across the board. I do a lot of development work, right? We have our own application, we're building another one. And I used to try to make these myself, right? I stopped doing that. I now bring in developers to do that. We're working closely with Harrisburg University and their production teams to actually do that. That's huge for us, right?
Yeah.
And so when their developers actually are building tools for us right now, right, that we're going to deploy to our customers.
Come on.
Right? And so I get to work with students at Harrisburg University, professors who are great, and they're helping us to do it, and then we're helping to guide their program to say. So I get to go in and talk to their students. Here's what I want to build, guys. I'm the dreamer. You guys get to put it in motion, right?
Yeah.
And so I think looking for those opportunities, looking for those connections, right? And that isn't always somebody you pay. That can be somebody, Tom Pallison, the executive director here at the association. He's a resource I go to all the time. I say, hey, Tom, here's a problem I got. You know somebody that could help? And he comes to me. Yeah. So building that network of support is so important. And so we have a local leadership training group called Leadership York. Of course, I was on the board there, but but they have a mentorship program, and I went through that in the middle of COVID. I went through that, and what a great time for me to be going through it, because my mentor was going through the same problems I was going through. He ran the local baseball team. Guess who couldn't have baseball games, right? And so we were at a really cool point of opportunities to learn from each other and do work together. We actually started hosting events for the Manufacturers Association at the baseball stadium because he and I knew each other.
Wow.
And we could be outside for events during COVID and let people spread out. We got the whole baseball stadium.
Wow.
And so we had speakers come in and stand on home plate and talk to us from home plate so we could still have our events.
That's awesome.
And so making those connections, that has driven my business, right? And being willing to jump into the community.
Yeah.
Right. And where they've reached out for my help, and I get as much out of that or more as what they get from me. Right.
Absolutely.
I really try to do that and help where we can, because the connections are amazing. Right. And I get to have a huge impact.
Yeah.
You want to talk about impact. I mean, this facility, we're training over 3,000 people a year. Right. Kids can go through an apprenticeship. A company's paying about $3,000 a year. So a 4-year apprenticeship is going to cost them $10, $12,000.
Yeah.
That is a steal to get an employee up to speed and kind of connected with you. You've put them through training. So you look at those opportunities and how we can have a big impact on this community. And that's where I think it's really cool. Mistake, not doing that soon enough. Right. Yeah. And being ready to do that. If you want to grow, you have to get help. Don't think you can do everything yourself. Yeah. I would say, surrounding yourself with people. I really try to avoid the downers, right? I want, there's a book, there's this hell yeah thing, right? And if it's not hell yeah, we don't want to do it. Okay. We talk about this as a team of okay, here's what we're thinking about. Are we really into this? Because if we're not, it's a distraction. Yeah. And that is something I've learned over the past 2 years is I got to ditch the distractions and focus on the important things. That is what a coach got me to. I wouldn't have done that. I would have done 10 other things. I'm not teaching this year because I got to focus on the business. Right?
I read a book years ago called you talk about what you're not doing so that you can focus on different things. It's called Necessary Endings. Mm. And I used to think that when I ended certain things that it was like this sad, horrible, because I love that. And I think this ties in with what we're talking about. Necessary endings in business and in life are so important because it opens up the availability for the next new beginning. And it's that's something that I think we need to get over. We get attached to something and we don't want to lose it, but yet it holds us back from where we could go. I just to give you a quick example, and then I can see you itching in your seat. But it's I would say I can remember working really hard to win a job
Yep.
and losing the opportunity and the devastation and the sadness and the pain, and then getting a phone call about another job that I wouldn't have been able to do had I done this. And this was such a better opportunity.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's like serendipity, right? Like those things happen. My dad has been great for me over the years. And I'm like, man, we're a little slow. They always come.
Yeah.
The jobs have always come, right? And so that's, in the middle of COVID, we had a customer that was struggling, and they were ready to retire. And they called us that, hey, could you just run it for us for a little bit?
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, I can't let it go. We got to run it. And he said, this was actually probably 2016, a little before COVID. And he said, okay. He said, you know what? I want to do it. He said, so part me there. I'm not going to be out with customers. I'll make it happen. So he started running it. Middle of COVID, that PPP hit, right? And we could get some dollars for paying their people. And so we bought it.
Wow.
Right. And it little, 4 people, right? And we were making mixers for bone cement in the operating room when they do hip replacements. And we bought it. Please note, they had one customer. One. And that customer is a particularly, medical device customers are not easy ones to deal with.
Yeah.
And so we ran it for a couple years. We got it profitable. We were doing fine, but it's a drain.
Yeah.
And we got to the point where their customer was pushing us so hard to say, hey, we got to be at this price. We're like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
And so we were able to turn a profit, and we shut it down this year.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it was a failure at all.
Yeah.
I feel like we were able to keep it going as long as it could go. They went a whole different way.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
And so we kept that going for an extra almost 10 years that it wouldn't have made.
Wow.
Right. And now it's off our plate, and thank goodness, because this AI stuff is a whole new division for us that I can't be distracted by that. And so I would say things like that have come up that we've been able to kind of push away. Even customers who you're struggling with, right?
Yeah, you have to learn to say no.
You got to learn to say no, or you got to learn to say no more,
Yeah.
right? You get customers who aren't paying you.
I feel like you're channeling your wife about boards that you're on right now.
I'm being better.
Yeah.
I'm not coaching teams for the first time in a long time with my kids, and so that's a big relief. But yeah, the saying no more to customers has been interesting, right? That's something that we spent a lot of years trying to help customers who didn't pay us on time.
Yeah.
And just feeling obligated to them.
Yeah.
And at some
I
point,
know that experience.
At some point, you got to say no.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to say, all right, hey, once we get paid, we can come back in. You're going to prepay now.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what a business coach got me to move to.
I think that's one thing that you've been talking about that's really important. The collaboration, the willingness to invite other people in. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Adam, I so appreciate you taking this time to share with us these things, to talk about this stuff with us. I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this stuff is important. I think that we need to realize that it's a national security issue. I think that we need to realize that it's something that we need to focus on. I think if we care about our future at all, training, AI, all of this stuff we need to be focusing on. And so where can people find you if they want your help in this area?
So check out ledgeinc.com. That's LEDGEINC.com. And find us on LinkedIn and YouTube, where we post videos of all our AI tools all the time.
Okay.
Because we're trying to get the message out. Here's what you can do with it today. Right?
Absolutely.
And our message is, how can we help manufacturers, whether that's us coming in and help or just planting the seeds so you guys go do it. We're really into helping the industry and helping South Central PA succeed.
And if you're an apprentice that's looking for a job in manufacturing, where do they find the Manufacturing Association?
You're going to look for the Manufacturers Association. That's mascpa.org. But if you look up the Manufacturing Association of South Central PA, you'll find it here. We're located north of York.
Yeah.
Right behind the York Barbell guy.
Yeah.
If you see it, but there you can you can connect here to get connected to those companies, or talk to your company about it. Talk to your school about it. They're in every school locally, right? They know them. They can send you in the right direction.
And if you're a manufacturing company looking for an apprenticeship and you don't have one within your organization, the Manufacturing Association can help you with that. And so we would just really encourage that. Adam, again, thank you for stepping up to the line.
Really
appreciate it. Thanks.